It's 2 a.m., and somewhere down the hall, a monitor hums on a nightstand. A baby is alone in a crib, in a dark room, several walls away from the only two adults on the planet whose heartbeat that baby has ever known. To you, this looks like a peaceful nursery. To your baby's nervous system, this looks like something else entirely. Most parents have no idea what proximity is actually doing to a sleeping infant's body, and once you understand it, that quiet, picture-perfect nursery will never look quite the same to you again.
We go past what your baby does and into what your baby is actually thinking, feeling, and trying to tell you. Today we're going deep into the science of sleep proximity, why closeness at night isn't just comfort, it's biology. And by the time we get to number 6, you'll never look at that empty crib the same way again. If you haven't yet, hit subscribe. We put out new baby science every few days, and this is one of the most important ones we've made. Let's start with something almost nobody thinks about: temperature. This one is subtle, but it matters more than you'd guess. A newborn cannot regulate their own body heat the way you can. Their internal thermostat is still under construction. When your baby sleeps near you, in the same room, close enough to feel your warmth, their body borrows stability from yours. Researchers who study infant sleep have found that proximity to a caregiver helps stabilize a baby's temperature far more efficiently than a heated room or a swaddle alone. The mechanism is simple. Your body is a walking climate system, constantly adjusting, and your baby's body reads that signal and calms. Warmth from a distance isn't warmth at all. Closeness is the real thermostat. This next one is where it gets a little more remarkable: breathing. Picture your baby's chest rising and falling in the crib, alone, in silence. It looks peaceful, but newborn breathing is irregular by nature. It pauses, it stutters, it finds its rhythm slowly over the first months of life. Anthropologist and sleep researcher James McKenna has spent decades studying what he calls breathing cues, the idea that a nearby caregiver's breath, movement, and small night sounds act as a kind of external pacemaker for an infant's own breathing rhythm. This is part of why the American Academy of Pediatrics recommends room sharing, not room separating, for at least the first 6 months, because studies have shown that sleeping in the same room, close but not in the same bed, is associated with a meaningfully lower risk of sudden infant death. Your presence isn't just comforting, your presence is regulating a system that hasn't finished coming online. Proximity is a breathing lesson your baby doesn't know they're taking. Are you seeing yourself in this yet? Because this next one is where the body science gets even more personal. Think about the last time you held your baby skin to skin, that stillness that comes over both of you. Neonatal researchers studying what's called kangaroo care in NICUs have found something remarkable. Infants held close to a caregiver's chest show more stable heart rates and steadier oxygen levels than infants resting the same distance away alone. Some of this research even suggests a kind of synchrony, the baby's heart rate subtly tracking the caregiver's. The mechanism isn't magic, it's regulation. Your baby doesn't yet have a fully developed internal system for managing arousal and calm. For months, they borrow yours. You are not just holding your baby, you are lending them a nervous system. If this is giving you something real so far, take a second to like or subscribe. It genuinely helps this channel keep putting out science like this every few days. Now back to it, because the next one is the one I most want every parent watching this to hear. This is the heart of this whole video. What happens to stress hormones when a baby sleeps alone versus close? Picture a baby waking in the dark, in a room by themselves, and no one comes for a few minutes. To an adult, that's nothing. To an infant's brain, a few minutes of unanswered distress can trigger a real stress response, a rise in cortisol, the body's alarm hormone. Researchers going back to Edward Tronick's famous still face work have shown just how quickly infants detect the absence of responsive connection and how much that absence can dysregulate them. Sleeping close doesn't just mean fewer cries in the night. It means fewer spikes of unanswered alarm running through a developing brain that doesn't yet have the tools to self-soothe. This is not about a baby being spoiled by closeness. This is about a nervous system that is still being built, night after night, cry after cry, response after response. Closeness at night isn't indulgence, it's construction material. You are not creating a bad habit. You are building a person. Here's the part that changes everything once you really sit with it. Sleep near you is different sleep entirely. Left alone, babies actually spend more time in lighter, more fragile sleep states, an evolutionary leftover from a time when an unattended infant was a vulnerable infant. It's not a flaw, it's ancient wiring. Proximity, your smell, your sound, your warmth, signals safety at a level far below conscious thought, and that signal allows a baby's sleep architecture to settle. This is why a baby can seem to sleep better alone in complete silence in the short term, but researchers who study attachment and stress note that this apparent calm can sometimes reflect resignation rather than true security, a baby learning no one is coming rather than a baby learning it's safe to rest. That's not guilt-inducing trivia, that's information, and information changes what you do with the nights ahead of you. There's one more piece worth sitting with. Closeness doesn't end when the eyes close. Even in deep sleep, infants studied in proximity to a caregiver show what researchers describe as a kind of ongoing co-regulation, small shifts in movement, breath, even body temperature that seem to track a caregiver's presence throughout the night, not just at bedtime. You just have to be near. Now, and this matters, none of this means something is wrong with you if your baby has always slept in a separate room, or if closeness at night simply isn't possible for your family. This isn't about guilt, it's about understanding. Room sharing, a bassinet at the bedside, a hand resting on the crib rail during a hard night, these all send the same signal in different doses. You don't need to do all of it perfectly to be doing this right. Because here's the truth underneath everything we just covered. You are already doing more than you realize. Every time you go to your baby in the night, every time you choose the bassinet over the far-off nursery, every time you let your baby fall asleep on your chest instead of rushing them to their own bed, you are giving their body exactly what it evolved to expect. Not spoiling, regulating, not creating dependency, building the very independence they'll eventually grow into. Because a nervous system that felt safe enough, early enough, is a nervous system that can eventually stand on its own. So if tonight your baby ends up in your arms instead of in the crib you pictured, that's not a failure of parenting. That's ancient biology working exactly the way it was designed to. You're not doing it wrong. You're doing what your baby's body has been asking for since the very first night. If this changed how you'll think about tonight, tell us in the comments. We'd love to hear how closeness shows up in your house, whether that's co-sleeping, room sharing, or just one more late-night trip down the hall. And if you know a parent who needs to hear that they're not spoiling their baby by holding them close at night, send this their way. Closeness isn't a phase to get through. It's the whole point. Until next time, keep watching, keep wondering, and keep listening to what your baby's mind is really telling you.